Hey guys, Jim here. This is one that I know has been fairly well anticipated, and I apologize to everybody that's been asking me to get this video done. It's just been, life's been crazy, and I'm trying to catch up. I still have knives from back in June from the Blade Show I brought home that I haven't done, but this one needs to get pushed up ahead because this is a very special knife. What we're looking at here is another world-class collaboration from Tashi Bharucha. This time he has teamed up with Dustin Turpin. Now you guys know I am a huge Dustin Turpin fan. He is right now one of my top 3 favorite makers that have ever walked the fucking earth. I mean, without exaggeration, one of my top favorites. And he happens to be a really super cool guy and someone that I consider a friend. So, knowing what I know of how Dustin makes his knives makes them so much more special to me, because everything that you're seeing here and in the strife that you've seen in my other video, this is all done by hand, or I should say manually. No CNC, no water jet. Again, I'm not downplaying the importance of those two machines in the industry or the skill that it requires to run them. It's just a different type of skill. And to see the precision in the work that Dustin does by hand on a manual mill blows my friggin' mind. And the fact that he's not charging $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for these things also blows my friggin' mind. So let's just start very quickly with the basics. You get about a 3 3/4 inch blade. Now that's measuring from here to the tip. If you wanted to come back here, it's almost a 4 inch, but it really is a 3 3/4 inch blade. 6AL4V titanium frame lock. Everything completely custom, nothing off the shelf. This is, everything's dedicated specifically for this knife. 8.5 inches overall, very slim for the size of knife that it is, and it carries very well. It displays a lot of Tashi and a lot of Dustin, which is great in a collaboration. Sometimes you'll see, influences very, very heavy on one side over the other. And I think this one was a really nice division of the two. First thing that you'll notice, besides Tashi's logo right there on the back side of the blade, is Tashi's influence in the flipper tab. Now, this is also kind of where Dustin comes in, I think, a little bit too, because Tashi tends to be a very straight flipper tab. Sometimes he'll put a little bit of that finger divot in there, which you'll see he did on the M35 Righteous, the collaboration that he did with Andre Van Heerden. So, that flipper tab is almost identical, so you could definitely see the Tashi influence there. The blade shape, that's Tashi. Look at that. It's so wicked. And I guess, for lack of a better term, and there's so much going on there. Some would want to call it a reverse tanto. Some would want to call it a Warncliffe. I would call it a modified sheep's foot. That's what I would classify this as. And maybe that's not what Dustin or Tashi would say. Maybe one of them can chime in and let us know. I don't know, but that's what I would classify this as. One of the wonderful features about this, very similar actually in style to the John Gray Thuck, is you'll notice that the blade is set very low in proportion to the handle. Look how high up the handle goes where your fingers are gripping around it. So you're actually able to cut things a little bit more easily without your hands really getting too much in the way. So it's got a nice drop down profile to it, yet they're still able to keep it a fairly low profile overall size in the hand when it's closed. The flipping action is, as you would expect from Dustin, absolutely phenomenal, just like you get out of the Strife. Now, just like my Strife was special, this was the very first Strife that was made in a hand-rubbed satin blade. It took Dustin about 7 hours to achieve that. And this was also the prototype that he sent to Jason Browse for the Browse and Turpin collaboration for the all-carbon fiber Strife that Jason is about to release this week or next week. So that's what made this knife really special. This one is special because in this collaboration, they're only going to make 10. Only 5 exist right now. Dustin's going to be working on the next 5 sometime very soon. But this was the very first one to be delivered, period. They are sold exclusively, and this is where I would tell you to go for the next 5. They are being sold exclusively by Dave Stark over at Steel Addiction. So go to Steel Addiction, get signed up on Dave's newsletter. Dave is a fantastic dude and always carries some incredible custom knives. So even if you miss out on these, get signed up on his newsletter and get into his maker alerts, which is set up on his website now. You can, have him alert you to whenever, Dustin Turpin is there, or Tom Mayo, or whatever else. So definitely do that. They are going to him only, period. That's it, all 10. The 11th one went to Tashi. So 10 available to the public. This was the very first one that was sold. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I found myself in a very fortunate situation, and I have to thank a couple people for that. You know who you are. So mine was the very first one sold and delivered long before anybody else's. Funny enough, I actually got mine before Tashi. But it gave me an opportunity to really play with it, really have fun with it, and to do some photography on it and really share my thoughts before the other ones started making it out there. Now, I don't know. I've not seen the other 4. I don't know who has them, where they are, or anything. I've only ever seen this one. I've never even seen pictures of the other ones, except for a couple little cell phone pics that Dustin sent me when he was still assembling the first 5. So more of the look from Dustin is going to be here in his very special floating backspacer. I don't know if you really want to call it a floating backspacer, because it's not, but it is a sandwich style backspacer with all these relief cuts cut all the way through, and that you will see very reminiscent of the Strife, which I can't quite get the light to pass through there, but it does. Oh, no, it doesn't. You know what? I never realized that. So they're milled out, but not hollowed through. This one, they are completely hollowed through. So there is a significant difference there. The action is just, it is like lightning. And this is not a small blade. It's also a very thick blade stock as well. So it's got quite a bit of weight there. S35 VN is what they chose. Beautiful hand rub satin. Now this is at a more premium price than most of Dustin's other work. This was considerably more. The Strife in its basic form is right around $850. Or actually, yeah, $825 or $850. And this one, I want to say it was 12. It was either $12.99. It was either, either $1,200 or $12.99. And I don't remember. I've had this for over a month now. So $1,200-$1,300. Not cheap, but I'm going to tell you right now, worth every penny. This thing is just incredible. There's not a part I would change on it. There was only one issue. The first 5 are going to be like this, but the next 5 will not be. So that's going to be your area of differentiation between them. As beautiful as that pocket clip is, and that is freaking sexy, he didn't make it stand off the frame quite enough. So when I go to put this in a pair of jeans or even in a pair of shorts, my clip can only go up to right about there. It just comes down a little bit too narrow at the frame there. So if I had a little spacer in there to lift the base out a little bit, that would help me greatly. The retention is fine, and it's not having an issue staying in the pocket or whatnot. I just can't put it all the way in. It stops me right about there. Not a big deal, but it is something worth mentioning. That will be on the first 5. I alerted Dustin to that, and he says, okay, well, I'll make sure to make that change on the next 5 for sure. So, because these had already been shipped out, so nothing he could do about that. Look at the mill work on this. So first off, you've got a nice, clean, bead-blasted frame. Then he's done some of that great double milling. What you see him doing the carbon fiber. So he's milled in here, and then milled in further after he's done the blasting. Beautiful bead blasting. So you've got these little shiny areas. When it's being photographed, people don't really know what they're seeing. They're thinking, well, is that skeletonized and I'm seeing the blade? Then they'll see an open shot and go, well, okay, the blade's not in there. What the hell's going on? It's really, really cool how he did that. He did it on both sides of the frame. Great millwork inside of the clip there. I apologize, I've already got marks on it. It's, you know, I've been carrying this thing a lot. I'm going to continue to carry it. Nothing of mine is ever a showpiece specimen. It's always going to get carried. One of the things that I love that you'll see that he also did here on the Strife is the back side of the blade just perfectly matches the shape of the handles. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but I do have knives with shaped bolsters, with angled bolsters, and they have the same shape in the blade, but it's still recessed in there. Here, the blade is brought all the way up flush with the frame, and it really is a wonderful custom touch. Now, I don't know if that's just something that Dustin prefers to do, or if maybe Tashi asked for it to come out like that. I have no idea. But since we are seeing it on Dustin's other knives, I'm going to have to say it's a carryover from what he likes to do. The ergonomics from my hand, fantastic. I can choke up here into that forward choil. Standard hold here, looks great, feels great, plenty of room. My thumb drops right in where I want it to there. So in every way, it's the perfect carry knife. And it's got a great useful blade. A little bit of belly to that blade. Great for slicing, great for chopping, whatever the hell you want to do. It's going to do it. And that's really, at the end of the day, what you want. Let's give you the comparisons here to the other Turpin. So here we have the Flash next to the Strife. You'll see they are actually nearly identical in their lengths. Their heights are going to be a little bit different. This is a very frame-intensive design with a bit of a narrower blade, the way it's been cut down. Then we put it up against the Van Heerden, which again is another Tashi design. And the M35 Righteous is a bigger knife. It's actually a full 4-inch blade, but it's got a shorter handle, it appears, because they're almost identical in their overall length. This is obviously a little bit lighter weight due to the fact that it's all carbon fiber on the outside. And the titanium liners, while they are substantial, they're still nowhere near as thick as that. So when you look at this, let's put them logo side out so we get a little love for Tashi. You could see that Tashi does some incredible design work, and I've had a chance to speak with him before. You may remember the video I did last year on John Graham. It was the Midnight Razel. That was their collaboration. He has a wonderful eye for design. Now, he also makes his own knives, for those that don't know, and he does incredible work. I've yet to get my hands on one for video purposes. I played with some at the Blade Show, but I've yet to actually get my hands on one. Incredible work, incredible guy. And he works with the best of the best of the best. When you look at the collaborations that he does, holy shit, it's insane. So he certainly makes friends with the right people, and he trusts the right people to execute his designs with an incredible degree of precision and quality. And that's why I think it was such a great choice that he went with Dustin. Because in my opinion, at least so far, Dustin can do no wrong. Now, I'm not saying that to put him up on a pedestal and to raise people's expectations. If you've never handled one of his knives, that's what it sounds like. But when you've handled his knives, and you look at them, and you dissect them, and you inspect them, and you try to critique them, you can't, because there are no flaws. They're just built right. His seamless integration of his materials, the balance of the knife, the feel of the knife, the detent, the... I mean, just everything. Incredible all the way around. And he doesn't do shit just to be cool. And what I mean by that is, there are trendier designs, there are trendier materials out there that you see a lot of people gravitating toward. One of the things I love to tease Dustin about is Moonglow. I personally love Moonglow. I think it's cool as shit. It is, I think in 20 years we're going to look back on it and go, oh yeah, that was so 2012, 2014. He says, I will never put Moonglow in any knife I make. He goes, I just think it's hokey. And that's fine. He's not going to just throw shit onto a knife because everybody else does it. He's going to make what he feels makes sense. He's going to make what he feels is going to have longevity. what is going to be considered a masterful creation 20 years from now, when maybe the flipper fad dies off. I'm not saying it's really a fad, I'm just saying if it's a fad and it's died off, you can still look at the rest of his knives and go, it's still impeccable. They're classically designed with a little bit of extra flair, you know, the extra detail of his incredible millwork, his incredible backspacers. But it's like picking up, you know, you look at something like Todd Rexford, which it's hard to compare anybody to Todd Rexford, and I know that. Dustin is the only one that you've ever heard me compare on video, live, on tape, forever, that I've ever compared to Todd Rexford. And I think that they're very similar in the ways of their precision, in their craftsmanship, and in the fact that in 20 years, when so many of the makers that we idolize today, that we strive to own their knives today, in 20 years, you may not even remember their names, and most people probably won't. And I think Dustin, along with guys like Marsh and Rexford and Jim Burke, I think these are the really hot makers that are hot right now, but not just hot to be hot, hot because they fucking deserve it. And in 20 years, you're still going to want their knives. Whether they're still making knives or not, you're still going to want them. They're still going to be relevant. They're still going to be talked about. Because above everything else, quality is what lasts. Quality is the impression that will remain in our minds. We've all seen some really cool-ass looking knives that we've picked up and we've made excuses for them. Oh, well, you know, it doesn't do this that well, and it doesn't really do that well, but look how cool it is, and look how innovative that pivot style was, or that flipper tab, or that cool lock. But the rest of it, yeah, it doesn't do this, and it. We'll make excuses because we want to like it. You look at a knife like this, and even if it isn't your personal aesthetic style, you can look at the knife and go, that's going to stand the test of time. And that's why Dustin is the only maker that I have gone to and said, I want a standing order for every single knife you ever make, period. There are a lot of makers that I love. There are a lot of makers that I'm friends with. I've never said that to any of them, except for Dustin. That doesn't mean I don't like any of my other, the knives made by the other makers. It just means that I've never seen one come out of Dustin's mind that didn't completely make sense to me. Everything that he does, I fall in love with. And his quality and precision, I have no problem forking out money every single time he puts a new model out. So there you have it. Quick look at, well, not so quick, 18 minutes. Quick look at the Flash from Tashi and Turpin. An incredible collaboration. I think something that, even though only 10 people are ever going to own them, I hope that everybody gets a chance to at least experience one, see it, feel it, touch it, see it at a show. Maybe your buddy got it, play with it. It's one of those knives that, for me, it's not just a simple frame lock flipper. It's so far beyond that with the detail work and the time that was obviously put into every portion of this, from that incredible hand rub satin to the milling that's been done to that incredible backspacer. This is one of those knives that I feel fortunate to have gotten the opportunity to own. And if you get the chance to find one, honestly, at almost any price, jump on it. Seriously jump on it. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you, as always, on the next video.